Hey everyone, today I decided to take a look at Cinescape May 1995 summer preview. I thought it would be fun to take a look at a time when movies were very different. The film industry was very different. The 90s saw some comic book movies. Every year there'd be about two or three, and we'd be like, "Oh my God, it's a virtual haven of comic book movies." Like, boy, were we in for a surprise in the 2000s. But also, you'll see a lot of variety of different kinds of movies, which is pretty cool. And some of them were big hits. And just, I mean, it's a year where, like, Batman had a big hit, and Tom Hanks had a big hit with Apollo 13. So, it's pretty cool, and it's pretty fun to look at all the speculation of movies and stuff coming out that eventually did come out, but not the way people thought they were gonna come out. Here you got like some of the hot topics at the time. Cameron was attached to Spider-Man for a long, long time. Voyager had come out and it was causing quite a splash. I think a lot of people didn't like Voyager when it was out, but it lasted a pretty long time. Species was coming out. X-Files is white hot. This is before the movie. Sudden Death. Van Damme is still king of action stars at the time. Well, one of them. Langoliers was a TV project from, of course, based on Stephen King's writings. So we'll take a look at the magazine itself. I'll try and breeze through all this, but it's fun to look at ads and stuff too. Like, here's so this is 95. This is the bridge between 16-bit and like the 32-bit era. And some of these like corridor games and stuff. So here's I think this is Dark Forces, right? Which is neat. At the time I thought it was awesome, and I know a lot of people are like, "Well, I don't like this and that and the other thing," like big aficionados. You're gonna see a lot of ads for Star Trek merchandise. This Star Trek was white hot in terms of merchandising, and it's something that people at the time were like, "Well, it's not very good for merchandising." Oh no, it made a lot of money for Paramount. Here are Star Trek checks. And you'll notice too that even though at this time TNG has I think it's still on, or it's come and gone. DS9 is around, Voyager is around, and yet they're merchandising heavily the classic Trek, right? So you got Spock and everything, Kirk. So yeah, it's like Star Trek checks. 95 is also I would say the internet has been in the public consciousness for maybe 2 years. I would say 94 is when people were really getting into this new internet thing, and were able to afford computers that could have the capability to go on the internet. And back then, internet was, dial up with that harrowing sound effect that you had to deal with when and whether or not you could go online, or if someone was on the phone you could, and it was a different time, man. There's some and Aliens in the 90s was a weird time because they're becoming more and more sort of less and less spooky, right? Here's more Star Trek stuff. So collectibles hotline. So I mean, the internet isn't terribly reliable just yet. It's a lot of chat groups and things like that. If you want a beat on some sort of collectible that you're looking for, you call a hotline. Nowadays, you just look on eBay or something. But yeah, and the internet at this point too is I remember the old joke when the internet was first on the scene and people were aware of it, that the internet was built on Star Trek and porn. In that, like, there's a lot of porn sites, starting up back then, making money, among the first pioneers of e-billing, and Star Trek. Star Trek had a big presence. There's lots of just fan sites and things that people can make a website, and also chat groups and things like that where people just talk about the hobby. That was a big part of the internet back then as well. These letters are great. Just a frozen moment in time. Lots of buzz around a new Bond movie in production, and that would be GoldenEye. So these people are like, oh my gosh, like a new Bond picture. Like those Timothy Dalton ones, kind of killed the franchise and blah blah. The Timothy Dalton movies are cool. Lots of speculation around the prequel movies. We know at this point in '95 that they're being made. People expressing concern, saying like, I don't think Lucas has even picked up a pencil to write the script and all this stuff. And like, you guys said it was coming out next year, but it's really coming out, '98. And of course, it came out in '99. Lots and lots of excitement around Star Wars. I like this. Oh God, here we go. George Lucas probably hasn't even sharpened his pencil to start writing episode 1, and already we've got a magazine trying to sell issues by informing readers what the new Star Wars trilogy will be like. Yeah, lots of wrong like assumptions on what the movie was gonna be, but we were excited, man. We were excited. Alienation was a movie turned into a TV series. All of it is cool. It's the type of thing that should really come back. It really fits in today's world of social politics. They can really talk about those things. But yeah, no, Alienation was great. It's a kind of a forgotten franchise now. Spider-Man, lots of excitement and speculation about Spider-Man. As I said, James Cameron was attached to this for a long time. It was in rights disputes for a long, long time. And of course, James Cameron didn't get to make it. But yeah, people were like, oh my gosh, like, when's this movie coming out? Spider-Man was no joke in comics. It was a big, big seller. And like, it was kind of water cooler comics, man. It's like, kids were like teenagers like myself at the time would talk about it with people that you wouldn't normally talk to, but like everyone read Spider-Man. A new Die Hard movie's coming out. Everyone's excited. Die Hard with a Vengeance. More Star Trek merchandise. Look, there's a time when Star Trek was heavily merchandised, and people bought everything. It was a big, big deal. And nowadays, not so much with the new stuff, coming out and everything. Here's Tommy Jones about his upcoming project, Men in Black. Lots of buzz around that. And oh my gosh, something called Independence Day is coming out soon. Like, what's that going to be like? This is interesting. Eddie Murphy, as soon as he's finished filming Nutty Professor, will go on to a new project called Sandblast. What the hell's that? Sandblast is about a demolitions expert who must navigate a deadly terrain laced with landmines. Yeah, to my knowledge, that didn't happen. I love reading these old magazines, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, what was that project? In the comments, let me know what happened to this. I mean, it wasn't made, and I just didn't see it. Here's Arnold heads Eraser. So Eraser is going to be an upcoming project for the megastar, and we know how that turned out. I thought Eraser was lackluster. I know a lot of people love it. Oh yeah, and we'll talk more about Waterworld. Here's like talk about old movies, and like Flash Gordon. What's this? This is Van Damme projects. I don't know what Afterlife is. Afterlife tells the story of a scientist whose brain is transplanted into the body of a convicted felon, and then has to run for his life. Was this made? What is this? Let me know in the comments. The 90s was filled with projects that just didn't go anywhere. When you read them now, it's like, oh, this is a cool concept. Why didn't they make this? Like, it's refreshing nowadays because nowadays everything is based on some sort of IP and like nothing's original. But that would have been cool unless it was made and it was called something else. Let me know. Forbidden Planet was never remade as far as I know, but they were threatening to do it. Once what was it? Once a Thief? That was a TV series that was shot in Canada. I remember that. Hollywood Chatter. Oh, here's a bunch of rumors and stuff. I didn't really read this part before, but I don't know. This doesn't seem like it has a lot of stuff that wasn't made. Man from U.N.C.L.E. eventually came out. Quentin Tarantino was reportedly scoping Man from U.N.C.L.E. Well, that didn't happen. That's funny though. Here's this looks like some sort of either CD-ROM game or 16-bit. Oh no, it's like a CD. Brain Dead 13. Sure, guys. Here's a whole article about Kate Mulgrew, and at the time, I think people didn't know what to make of Captain Janeway, and now I think she's very beloved, and carries that series. I don't know what this is. Probably a video game of some sort. Crimson Tide. Big write-up about that. Denzel Washington is a giant star at this point, which you'll see. And here's the summer preview. So here we go. Cutthroat Island. Let's start with that. Cutthroat Island was awesome, but it didn't do so well at the box office at the time that I remember. I thought it was a pretty neat adventure. I like this quote. I remember because I had this as a kid, and I don't know where it is. This I rebought at a Comic-Con or a Toy-Con. And originally Michael Douglas was set to star in this and was replaced by Matthew Modine. And at one point, Matthew Modine says, Gina's close to 6 feet. She could break them in half, right? So I remember reading that going, oh, shots fired at freaking Michael Douglas. It's a cool movie. Under Siege 2 is awesome. I don't remember it being a big box office burner at the time. But yeah, this is pretty cool as well. They talk about it being more realistic and stuff. It's like, come on, eh? I'm not here for that. Apollo 13. I would say this was probably a surprise hit because studios were banking on these big like action things, and Apollo 13 was huge. Everyone was quoting it and stuff. Very annoying though. Like, Houston, we have a problem was in every movie after this, but this was the start, I think, of a long spate of space history projects that Tom Hanks was involved with. And here's more about that movie. Devil in the Blue Dress. I'd have to see. I don't think I've ever seen this before. But this is another Denzel Washington thing, a crime noir thing. This looks awesome. I don't think this is a huge hit or anything, but I'll track this down and watch it. This looks pretty good. Let me know in the comments if this is cool or not. Virtuosity, I saw in the theater, another Denzel Washington thing. This was a big action thing where he fights Russell Crowe, who is some sort of criminal that's remade as like nanobots and stuff. I remember enjoying this and understanding it was over the top and stupid, but it was awesome. Johnny Mnemonic was not a big hit. Keanu Reeves, I think, coming off of Speed success. Dolph Lundgren's in it, Ice-T, Henry Rollins. It's based on a William Gibson novel that I struggled through as a kid. Actually, what was it? I think it was Neuromancer I struggled through. I should read that again. I mean, I was like 14 when I tried to read that, and I don't know what I was thinking, but this was a neat movie. I remember it not doing so hot at the box office. Of course, 95 was dominated by stuff like Batman Forever. So Apollo 13 was huge. Batman Forever was big. It was like a big turn from Batman Returns. This was going to be more family friendly, more colorful, more fun, not taking itself too seriously. Um, Riddler was played, of course, by Jim Carrey, who's quoted as saying, "The movie's going to be a tough sell. I think the name alone confuses people. I myself thought it was going to be a nature film until I read the script." He's just being foolish here. Jim Carrey was in his prime here. He was huge. He was commanding $20 million paychecks for films. They redesigned the Batmobile to be more Batmobile-ish, with more fins and things. It's neat. I like the original, well, not original, but I like the Tim Burton design. It's not really Tim Burton that designed it, but the one that was in the Tim Burton movies. It's a fun movie. It ruined Two-Face for me. I love Two-Face. But I mean, I know it's a lot of people's childhood Batman. But even those people will probably tell you it's not a great Batman movie. But they adore it for, like, they marketed the hell out of this. There's toys all over the place and all sorts of other stuff. So I can understand people having a personal connection to this movie. And Species was always from the get-go derided as being an Alien ripoff. And here's a whole article about that. I enjoyed Species. It was cool. I don't know how much of a hit it was because they made straight-to-video movies after this. Congo, I saw in the theater. I liked it, but I thought it was a little lackluster. I've never read the book, but I've heard it's like a lot more epic and stuff. I remember being impressed by the main ape in it, like the little monkey that helps him, because it was supposed to be completely CGI, but I'm not CGI. Sorry, it's supposed to be completely animatronic. But I don't know if there was someone in a suit for a lot of it and with just an animatronic face. That's probably what happened. Casper was a big hit, and I think it has the distinction of being the first movie to have an all CGI lead character. So that's cool. I love Casper, the friendly ghost, like the character. I like the comics, I like the cartoons. They had a whole bunch of straight to video sequels after this. That was the big trend at the time. I feel like it was started with Darkman. Darkman had the first straight to video sequel, and then they did it with Species. They did it with Casper. I like Casper and Wendy. That was a cool movie because it crossed them over with one of my favorite characters from that Harvey comics verse. Judge Dredd didn't do so hot. Lots of high hopes for it. They say here it looks like Stallone may have finally found his next film franchise. And they deride Demolition Man, a mostly lighthearted science fiction action film. Dredd pumps his wall-to-wall action and thrills from the pens of like Steven D'Souza and William Wisher from Die Hard and Terminator 2 respectively. Yeah, I think a lot of people would take Demolition Man over this movie now. Judge Dredd was cool. I just don't think it captured Dredd. I mean, the movie Dredd was a better Judge Dredd movie, but most people would say RoboCop was a better Judge Dredd movie. So, Village of the Damned, I think it probably ranks low on most people's John Carpenter movie lists. But it's cool. It's got Christopher Reeve in it, and that's great. That's always a good time. Yeah, this didn't do so well at the box office either. Wild Bill, I think, is largely forgotten, the Jeff Bridges movie. It's cool to see these because I wouldn't mind revisiting Wild Bill and Devil in a Blue Dress and stuff like that. The summer of '95 was really stacked with movies. It's fun to see this, to see like what came out and what was competing with each other like way back when, like about 25 years ago or more. Power Rangers the movie. This was a curiosity on my part. I was like, how are they going to do a big movie about this? To me, it still looks like the cheap show, just, done big. But yeah, at the time, this was like a big curious, what are they going to do? They made another theatrical movie after this one that was very cheap looking, and then they sort of didn't do anything until the remake, reboot, whatever it was, which was way too serious for its own good. But it's a fun little film. Fair game. So Cindy Crawford is a name that people don't really say anymore, but she was a big star in the 90s. She was part of that whole cadre of like supermodels that were stars for being supermodels, and very pretty, as you can see. But this movie, I remember this movie being marketed mostly on the promise that you're gonna get to see her topless. That's the only. It's like so skeevy, and then when you finally see it, it's like a 1 second shot where a bad guy has her in his scope, like in his rifle scope, and sees it like as she's like about to, like, she's making out with some dude, and sees her topless, and then you see it, and it's like a second, and then they cut back to the guy who's like, oh, like that, and then I think he gets shot in the head or something. I remember this being a worthless movie. I'd probably watch it again just to see how worthless it is, but just to see if I'm right. Yeah, no one talks about this movie. No one talks about Cindy Crawford anymore either. First Night. No one really talks about this movie either, but I'd like to revisit it. Sean Connery, Richard Gere. I saw it. I don't remember much of it, but it's probably cool. I'll watch it again, man. Waterworld, a much derided Kevin Costner, big bloated budget action movie. I remember the rumors for this had a lot of vitriol and hatred attached to it, and I don't know why. I think the underpinning idea was Kevin Costner's ego was on like maximum overload and whatnot. But I remember one rumor being back when CGI was still this magical thing to people, that Kevin Costner demanded his hair be CGI'd on and stuff, to cover like bald spots, which is ridiculous. I mean, just wear a toupee. That was obviously fake, but this movie was derided before it even came out. When it came out, I think that stink was still on it, and no one watched it. And you watch it now, it's pretty cool. Braveheart was a hit, and much imitated after that. They cannot take our freedom. Like, everyone knows that. I think this is probably a surprise hit when it came out. I don't know if I think a lot of people, put their faith in Batman and stuff, but this movie was another big hit in 95. And of course, Sudden Death. Man, this 95, summer 95 was stacked, man. So yeah, Sudden Death has a soft spot in Canadians' hearts, because it involves hockey and Canadians, so that's awesome. EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, had a magazine. I guess they're touring the States and stuff and whatever. I mean, video games, like especially 16-bit and on into the CD era, were huge at this time. You see Atari Jaguar, Electronic Boutique, Hero Illustrated, which I think was owned by these guys, and competed against Wizard Magazine. Cinescape is involved in EGM. I bought EGM and EGM2, which was the sister magazine. Here's a whole article about the Langoliers, which I think was a 2-part TV event based on a Stephen King story. That's cool. Balky was in it. Here's a whole article about James Cameron wanting to make Spider-Man. I remember reading the Spider-Man script, man, because you could get it in certain circles, and I didn't like it. There was a character named Strand who was supposed to be Electro, but was never called that. Sandman doesn't speak or anything. He's just a heavy. I don't know. And this is where the organic web shooters come from. It's this thing. Here's a little souvenir promoting it. It says Spider-Man, a film by James Cameron, coming 1993, and that never happened. Here's a whole article about how X-Files is white hot, and it takes a lot from Kolchack, the Night Stalker, which was a 70s series which didn't last very long, but has a soft spot in most nerds' hearts. It's cool. Yeah, when X-Files was white hot, this is before the movie, too. It was huge. It's like everyone imitated this after that. Here's a whole article about Denis Muren, and it's a whole article about like how, practical effects are rubbing up against CGI and which one's better and all that stuff. This is an interesting article because this is when the crossroads was happening, right? So it's pretty cool. And they talk about the CGI T1000 and all of this. And here's a blast from the past. New technology can bring the theater experience into your living room, and it doesn't have to empty your wallet. This is 1995. So this is mostly about VHS and Laserdiscs. This is hilarious to read now, but choosing a high-end VCR. I remember the problem with Laserdiscs at the time was that a lot of movies were on multiple platters, and you had to like switch them up and stuff like that to watch a single movie. I remember something like Star Wars being 5 platters. I could be mistaken. And here's how you put together an entertainment system back then. Speakers, at least 5 speakers are required for a true home theater experience. Cables, what kind of cables to use. They don't know what an HDMI cable is at this point. And all sorts of stuff. This is, it was a different time. It's the ongoing debate, can a home theater experience beat a movie theater experience? Or is it just simply better because you're in the comfort of your own home? Here's Garrett Wang talking about Voyager. And he has some interesting stuff to say about the internet here. It's like, at the time, right? I can't believe the stuff on the internet. Stuff like, I think he's the same person as Wesley Crusher. That bummed me out because there's an I Hate Wesley Crusher club, even back then, that you access by typing something like Die Wesley Crusher Die. This is 1995. But it's cool that there's a whole big article about like a Voyager character. And here's a whole article about the road to DS9, like stuff that seeded the characters and concepts of DS9. That's cool. Ensign Row. Probably not an ensign there. Here's a Voyager concept art. That's cool. Star Trek was still big back then. People were buzzing about it. Here's a big sci-fi creator mega show. That's cool. Lou Ferrigno. Michael J. Straczynski. Oh yeah, Babylon 5 is a thing at this point. Bill Mummy. Still, making the rounds from Lost in Space. Joe DeAngelis, Mr. America, okay, at the time. Claudia Christian from Babylon 5. Spider-Man will be there, I guess. And all sorts of Star Trek people, including Star Wars Mark Hamill. Stan Lee. Stan Winston. Garrett Wang, that we just heard from here. Another article about Virtuosity. They already wrote about it, but hey, these projects are usually it's stuff that you already know about, like Contact. At the time they were making Contact, like making the movie. Crusade never happened. Arnold Schwarzenegger. It looks like this $100 million medieval epic will actually get made. No, it never did. With RoboCop's Paul Verhoeven most likely behind the camera. This is a big rumored thing where Schwarzenegger was going to be part of the Holy Crusades or something. I don't know what the story was going to be. Fair game. We talked about that. Executive Decision was they already had Kurt Russell attached. That's cool. So this hadn't happened yet. Desperado was coming out. Dragonheart. Dennis Quaid, Sean Connery as the Dragon's voice. Yeah, they were already attached, so I guess they're making that at the time. Hackers. I don't see... Oh yeah, Angelina Jolie's here. GoldenEye. They're making it. It's coming out. End of the year. Godzilla. They're still trying to see what they're going to do with that. This movie was ass, but at the time in 95, they're still figuring out what to do here. Yandabot is attached from Speed. This is also a time when the Flash Gordon movie was just coming back into the greater consciousness. And so you'd see little articles like, remember this, remember Sam J. Jones, remember Flash Gordon? That was kind of awesome, you know. And now everyone loves it, right? Island of Dr. Moreau, I remember everyone hated it, and they still do. I'd have to watch it again. Indiana Jones 4, coming out in 96. No, it never did. This thing was rumored for years and years and years, and when they finally made it, it was Crystal Skull, and it sucked. Indian in the Cupboard, I remember that. I read the book in school, so I was excited for that. Jumanji, Lord of Illusions, Marion Riley, I had to revisit this. I remember this being awesome. And maybe I'm wrong because no one talks about it anymore, but Julia Roberts is the maid to Dr. Jekyll, who is also Mr. Hyde. That's fun. Mission Impossible is coming out. People are like, what the hell is this going to be? It has nothing to do with the TV show, but I understand no one knows what the show is. So I didn't like Mission Impossible 1, 2, or 3. I like 4, 5, and 6, but Money Train. I have to revisit this too. Well, Combat was awesome. Better than the new one. The Net, North Star. What's this? Jurassic Park 2. They don't know when Jurassic Park 2 is going to happen yet. You know, speculation. What's it going to be about? You know, The Phantom. The Quest is cool. So at this point, they're in development. The Saint, based on the TV show no one watched. I mean, no one of a certain age watched. I mean, it was a big hit at the time in the 60s, I guess. But, like, I had never seen it. And, you know, I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to watch the movie now. I'm a child of the 80s. 7, coming out, big classic. A Simple Plan. I don't remember Nicolas Cage in it. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like they probably swapped out stars. Did it not star Billy Bob Thornton? So maybe he was attached and then he dropped out. Too Rich for His Blood. Starship Troopers. Lots of speculation. I had read the book at this point. I'm like, I can't wait to see this movie. It's cool. You know, there are like 5 Starship Trooper movies. Star Wars, coming out in 98, and it really came out in 99. Everyone's dying over this. What the hell is this going to be about? Species. What else? Strange Days, which is cool. Sudden Death. Sun Chaser. What the hell's this? Woody Harrelson stars as terminally ill hoodlum on the lam. Yeah. I don't think they made this. Or it was called something else when it came out. T-Rex. 12 Monkeys, of course. So at this point it's in development, but it has all its stars attached. Twister. Yeah, Twister is coming out. Under Siege 2, we talked about it. Unforgettable. Ray Liotta. This probably did happen, but I never saw it. Vampire in Brooklyn. Vampires, which was in development for a long, long time. And finally came out completely different than this. Waterworld. Anime is becoming a thing. It's really an underground thing at this point in 95, but it's, you know, it's mainstream now. This is about The Specialist. And this is about Double Dragon. And here's Alyssa Milano. You know, this is what they did to her in this movie. So, it's okay. It's $2 at Walmart now. So, Roadkill. What's this? The Road Killers. Yeah, I don't know about this. I'd have to track this down. But here's a whole thing about The Stand, which was a TV event. That was cool. And stuff that's on video and TV, etc. This is an older movie, Quintet, I think. And this is Tom Clancy TV projects. Also, of course, Tom Clancy took video games by storm. Here's Carl Weathers, man. He looks awesome here. And this is all stuff going on TV at the time. Here's a little write-up about Adventures of Lois and Clark New Adventures of Superman, getting a season 3 at the time. I think it was like, how many, 4 or 5 seasons? I think it was 5. I can't remember, man. And they're talking about certain episodes were scrapped, like one where Superman gets bitten by a bug and becomes a bug or something stupid like that. They got rid of that in favor of a Red Kryptonite story. Earth 2 and Sequest DSV. I remember both of those. I remember them being big budget shows that weren't very interesting. I didn't like Sequest DSV. I didn't care about going through the ocean, just go through space. Earth 2 was alright, I guess. I just liked the aliens on that planet, and that was it. And other stuff. More stuff about, like, the ongoing Star Trek projects at the time on TV. Here's CD-ROM video games at the time, and some CD-ROM projects are, like, just stuff with documentaries and things on them. That's cool. And more video game stuff, more corridor games and things. And something about in the future there'll be, like, you know, like silicon actors. The day when human actors will be replaced by synthetic performers is coming, as evidenced in this summer's Judge Dredd. It's already beginning to happen. So that's in reference to like CG figures replacing like stunt characters and stuff, like stunt actors, which still happens. And here's another book coming out that will give more behind-the-scenes stuff of Lucasfilm projects and things in the past, like Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Here's a Magic, yeah, Magic is old now, man. God. But yeah, they're advertising and stuff like Cinescape. And a True Lies 16-bit video game from Acclaim for Genesis. Well, Game Boy wouldn't be 16-bit. Game Gear, Super Nintendo. That's cool. And that is the summer preview of 1995 and the May 95 Cinescape magazine. I hope you enjoyed this walk back through time. Take care.